everybody. Welcome to Cinephilia.
Hi. See, we do exist.
Yeah, we do exist. Don't you love those technical difficulties? How's it going?
Last minute gremlins.
It happens every single time. We're ready to go.
We were
We've
ready
set up
so
everything
early
ready.
today. We've been sitting around just like everything was working
And
beforehand.
there was nothing wrong right before we started. I was literally staring at the screen with us on it.
Thanks, Kirk and
thanks for
Corey.
sub. Thank you so much. We're here. Welcome to our show. All new people who are visiting us today, welcome. We are Cinephilia. We're part of Perception Studio. We have a bunch of shows, and this is one of them. This is
The movie talk show.
Movie talk show. We discuss movies. Sometimes we get a little deep. Sometimes it's fun. Today might be a little deep.
But hopefully we also have fun talking
too.
about this deep topic. But,
Let's cover what our topic for today is.
Well, the topic for today is art versus the artist. So basically, we're going to be talking about if you can separate an artist from the art that they create, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of people, a lot of celebrities, a lot of actors, directors in the news these days that are just doing some awful things. And so how do we reconcile some of the awful things that are happening with the entertainment that they make that we enjoy? And if that can be reconciled, if not, we're going to get into all of that.
Yeah.
So that's today's topic.
But first, we're going to talk about the news.
The news.
So what do we got going on today at the
Well,
news?
first, the most important news, I think, is that we got audio for that. So we're not just getting your beep bop.
Oh, beep boop ba doop boop, the news.
There's actual audio there.
Maybe I should record my own version of the beep boop.
Maybe you should. It'd be original. So, there are a couple things that happened in the news this week. One is that HBO actually won't be bringing a second season of Watchmen, even though that show
Did really well.
Was critically acclaimed. Weird that it didn't get nominated for a lot of awards. It did get nominated for some, but not the big ones. But we already talked about what we think about award shows. So there won't be a second season of Watchmen. However, also this week we got news that Regina King, who was the star of Watchmen, has just signed a mega deal with Netflix and will produce a series of films and shows for Netflix. So that's cool. And also, while there won't be a second season of Watchmen, HBO did say that the creator of Watchmen, they love and they're willing to do whatever project he wants to do next. So that could be cool.
I didn't finish watching Watchmen. Did it leave off in a place where they needed a second season?
I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, Danny watched.
So this is the thing. I've been very excited about it, and I've been wanting to watch it. But I also, as you guys know, I'm a movie person, so it takes a lot for me to sit down and actually watch a series, a show.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, when I have free time, I sit down and watch a movie and can get through it. So Watchmen has been like the next on my list for a while, but I haven't gotten there yet. Siri is telling me what seashells are for some reason.
You're serious talking to you.
And my phone's volume is turned all the way down, but for some reason she still wanted to yell about seashells. So I have not actually watched Watchmen yet, although I'm very excited about it. Even knowing that there isn't a second season, if there is a cliffhanger, I'm still anxious to watch it because I want to know, what it has to say in that first season, because I hear it's pretty incredible, especially for the history of Black people in America. So
Yeah.
I want to see.
It's a good show. I started watching. I just haven't finished it.
Yeah, and it's got amazing actors in it. So it's a show that I recommend, even though I haven't watched it yet.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Quick thing. Before we go on, we have a giveaway today. We have if we reach 100 subscribers tonight, we have this special edition pop vinyl Batmobile that is from the Toy Tokyo exclusive pop. So we got some pretty rare stuff that our friend Goldie Chan gave us.
Thanks, Goldie.
Thanks, Goldie. So we'll be giving this away if we get to 100 subscribers tonight.
That's pretty awesome.
So the SAG Awards were this weekend.
Yep.
And the biggest news, SAG Awards when a SAG Awards would go, but the biggest news is that a Parasite won the top prize. It won, what's it called? The whatever the best movie is, whatever they call it. The winner select from the biggest. It is the first foreign film to ever win the top prize at SAG Awards, which is fantastic because it is a great movie. I hear.
Have you still not watched
No, I
it?
still haven't watched it.
See, so Parasite is to you how Watchmen is to me.
Yes. It's still. I have the screener. I just gotta sit
Parasite
and watch it.
is a great movie and much deserved. And there's a cute little clip of the cast accepting the award and also talking about how they hope that this will open the doors for more foreign movies to be able to be seen and accepted after this. How this hopefully is a stepping stone to getting more diversity. Mm-hmm. So
it's called the Best Ensemble Award is what the award was.
Yeah,
which means that everybody did a good job.
And they Parasite got my Waddy for Best Ensemble, so I'm totally there with them. If you have not seen Parasite yet, it's definitely worth your watch. We're obviously big Bong Joon-ho fans here, so we recommend.
The other thing that happened at SAG Awards was Joaquin Phoenix won Favorite Actor, won Best Actor in Outstanding Performance by Male Actor. But he said, I'm standing on the shoulders of my favorite actor, Heath Ledger. So he kind of acknowledged the fact that Heath Ledger kind of helped kind of legitimize a little bit of that superhero like villain kind of thing.
Yeah, Heath Ledger is probably my second favorite performance by an actor in a superhero movie.
Yeah, and even though we didn't really enjoy Joker as much,
no,
I think he did a decent job. So, and I appreciate that he acknowledged Heath Ledger. That was kind of cool.
That was nice of him.
What else you got?
What else happened this week? Taika Waititi is being courted to make a Star Wars movie.
I'm so for that. Yeah.
I mean he's a great director, so I think, and he's a fun director, so I think his Star Wars would be fun. I hope that he's not now going down the route that Del Toro did, where Del Toro became like the it person and just started to have all these projects and like only a few of them actually got made.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what's happening with Waititi right now, because he's the it person. Everyone wants him to work on their projects. So I hope that some of these projects that he's actually, signing up for actually get made, because I think they'll be fun.
Yeah, and I think we're now that we're like done with the Skywalker saga, I think we're in a place where now they can experiment and they can start bringing other people with like more vision instead of the people they want to hone into the specific thing and let them do things, and they actually get more interesting things out of them.
But I also hope that Star Wars, whatever they do, I mean, they're doing really well with their Disney Plus series right now, so that might be a more lucrative way for them to go and actually get more in depth with their stories.
Yeah.
But whatever Star Wars does next, I hope that they take their time and figure it out first.
Yeah, I mean,
like we don't need to rush and have another Star Wars movie next year. Just, like, let it breathe for a moment, take your time, and actually make something worthwhile.
That was the thing, because they canceled a bunch of movies. They were supposed to keep doing them every year like Marvel, and then they realized that wasn't working for Star Wars movies. They didn't have the right team, so they basically said that after this movie, the movies are going on break for a little while they figure out what they're doing, and which is great because then they concentrate on the TV shows.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy.
So whatever movie Waititi does,
Lot Daniel says Old Republic stories would be great. Yeah, that would love to see that, because apparently the rumor is now that the trilogy or movies that the Game of Thrones guys were working on were set in during the not quite Old Republic, during the, is it called the High Republic, or like it's like a few hundred years before what Star Wars happened. So it would have been around the time that Yoda was young, because he was like 900 when he died. When he was young.
So we're gonna get another baby Yoda?
Well, no, young Yoda. He would have been like in his prime Yoda.
We're gonna get like teen Yoda.
Yeah, but I don't know if that is
young
ever
adult Yoda.
What if that's ever gonna happen. Nausicaa says Disney Star Wars is dog poop. Yeah.
Nausicaa, I like your name.
It hasn't been this great. It's had some high points and low points, definitely. They have a lot to work on. I do agree with that. Other thing news. So Studio Ghibli is coming to HBO Max.
Yes.
So apparently they just announced, so before that, none of these movies were ever streaming. They were so against all that.
They were on lockdown, yeah.
But now they made a deal with HBO Max, and now they're gonna be on Netflix everywhere outside of America. So HBO Max is in America.
Netflix is doing it globally except for North America, including Canada and Japan. But we're in America, we'll be able to get it through HBO Max.
Yeah.
So So get ready to watch some Ghibli.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. Anything else?
Yes. Disney is killing the name Fox.
Fox, yeah,
Disney
I saw that.
is getting rid of Fox. It's going to be 20th Century Studio now, which I actually think, I saw a lot of people crying out like, the end of an era, how could you do this and that kind of thing. But honestly, at this point, the name Fox is kind of tainted for me. Like, Fox means a lot of negative things. So I'm fine with 20th Century Studio. I think that is going to be fine.
And it's still, yeah, so I think it's fine. It was kind of nice seeing the Star Wars movies back on Disney Plus and them putting in the Fox thing, the fanfare at the beginning of them, which is kind of neat because it was really weird for me to see them without the fanfare was part of the Star Wars opening. So that was kind of cool. So hopefully they'll keep that as well.
Also, if you're a fan of like classic animation, Tex Avery cartoons are finally making it to Blu-ray. So that's like old Droopy and Wolf and Red.
Oh, nice.
All the old classic shorts that Tex Avery worked on. So I'm excited for that because they aren't. I mean, you can find a lot of them on YouTube, but to see them remastered and put on Blu-ray will be kind of cool.
Awesome.
And then in other big news, maybe Danny's favorite news of the week because he got really excited when I posted about this. The first footage scene for the remake of Dune is getting not just positive reviews, but like reviews on the level of like Lord of the Rings. It's being compared to Lord of the Rings. So if you're a Dune fan, you might have something to look out for. I think I want to try to get a Cinephilia group together to go see it or something. I think that'd be fun.
I'm just afraid it's going to be too much like Star Wars because obviously it's a Star Wars ripoff.
Danny has strong words to say about that.
Yeah, he hates it when I say that. Yeah. So before we move on to trailers, are we done? You good with news?
I think I'm done with news.
I want to just say hello to all of our new friends that are joining us tonight. And we have a bunch of other shows on the channel. So I'm going to show you what we do. We'll be back in 1 minute.
And we are Perception Studio.
Wild turkey that hungers for blood.
Hey.
How does Dandy? Hi, I'm Haley.
And I'm Andrew.
Fuck you. Yes, I'm kind as shit.
The room begins to fill with a bunch of cola. Our heroes begin to drown.
What my favorite movie of each year was?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally fine if I get crushed by a giant dragon schlong. If that's how I'm gonna go, then like that's a way to go.
I believe you. I say, tickle this, bitch. And I take.
We'll Cinephilia
you later.
That was almost good.
The donors have $200 and no purpose. Look under your seats because everybody gets a reroll. You get a reroll. You get a reroll. You get a reroll.
I hate it so much. And people are like, no.
You know, sexual stuff. But we're just a little more grounded. So your progression is in the sky.
Get in here. Get in the
I gotta stop squeezing out of. Scoot your fucking chair over.
Is that better?
No, go away.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so those are a few of our shows that we do here. We have a D&D show with humans on Tuesday nights. I say humans because on Wednesday we have another D&D show with our felted friends. They don't like, thanks for the follow. They don't like to be called puppets. They like to be called felted friends. And then Monday nights we have this show at 5:30. Where we do movie talks. And then starting next month, we have one of our shows coming back, which is kind of a game show with a weird sci-fi kind of vibe to it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for the subs. And thanks for the follows.
all the subs and follows. We greatly appreciate it. And welcome, everybody. If this is your first time joining in, we're glad to have you. And if you're long-time viewers, we're always glad to have you, of course.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's check out some trailers.
Trailer.
All right, our first trailer we have up, we have a movie called The Night Clerk. So the tagline for this is, a voyeuristic hotel clerk becomes the subject of a murder investigation. And this is with, should have looked up his name. It's the kid from, hey, thanks for the follow, from Ready Player One.
Oh, okay.
So here we go.
Is he still a kid?
Well, you know, the dude.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
His character's also supposed to be young.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. You're new here, right?
Yes, I work the night shift. My name is Bart.
Well, it's very nice meeting you, Bart.
What?
It's nice to meet you.
Sorry, I have to practice what to say. Hey, how you doing? I watch people, and I imitate.
You watch people?
Well, I study them.
Yeah, well, I guess you have a lot of people to watch at the hotel.
Yes, I do.
We have a dead woman here, and I think Bart knows something about that. We found your fingerprints all over the room.
This is a fragile boy, and you need to understand that.
Look, I know you got issues, but you're hiding something. That's what I really believe, Bart.
I drove home, and I watched TV.
You're a very smart guy, and yet what you're saying to me doesn't make sense.
You know, you can tell me anything, honey.
He has kind of an odd way about him. But, you know, that doesn't mean he did anything, does it?
Oh God, oh God, oh God. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Bart, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do, Bart?
Oh my God. What did you do?
That was interesting. John Leguizamo. Oh, it is Helen Hunt. Helen Hunt just looked different.
Well, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen
It
her.
has been a while.
But yeah, I have to look this. I'm looking up the rest of this cast real quick.
Yeah, let's do that.
It looks interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to guess that John Leguizamo is not the villain, and they're making it look like he is.
It's directed by Michael Christopher, who also directed Gia and Original Sin. Original Sin was a guilty pleasure of mine. And it is Ana de Armas as well.
Oh, cool.
She's great. I love her.
Loud Daniel says, that's on my list.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Reed H. Cooper said Ana de Armas as well.
I just added it to my watch list.
It's not horror. It's more like it's like a thriller thing.
Possibly psychological.
Psychological thriller, yeah. Thanks for the follow. All right, here we go. Trailer 3. Nope. The next trailer. It says Gun Akimbo. A guy relies on his newly acquired gladiator skills to save his ex-girlfriend from kidnappers. This is with thanks for the follow. With Harry
Daniel
Potter.
Radcliffe.
With Harry Potter.
Hey, I'm Miles.
Watch it, asshole.
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a hero. But instead, I grew up to be a nobody.
Another schism.
Schism picked random weirdos and made them fight to the death. And the internet loved it.
X wins.
Yeah, Nick, I love you.
Coming. I think you have the wrong opinion. Whoa, who are you?
Look, this is gonna sound really fucking weird, but can you help me? I have guns bolted to my hands.
Yeah, you're right. That does sound pretty fucking weird.
You have 24 hours to kill Nix. Fail, you die. Leave the city, you die. What the fuck is Nix?
It's showtime.
Don't shoot me! I don't want anything to do with this.
These guys came into my house last night. They're making me fight.
But I have a plan.
Come on.
You can stop
Trying to kill me.
and kill Schism. You in?
No. Here's what we'll do. Relax and stop running!
Mistakes were made.
10 million viewers. You have made history.
I never wanted any of this.
Fuck!
It's over!
It's not over till I say it's over.
I wouldn't do that if I was you. You'll just end up blowing your damn face off. Then you'll still be depressed. Even more depressed, probably, because of your fucked up face.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it looks like hyper violent action, which, you know, I'm for.
Yeah. It's like silly action. It's just silly violence.
Right. But it kind of give me a feel of like Turbo Kid or something like that, where
Turbo
it's just
Kid,
like
yes.
a little off the wall.
Yeah,
and
if you
a
haven't
little
watched
crazy.
Turbo Kid, watch Turbo Kid.
But I love that Danny Radcliffe, like you said, is doing these smaller films. Not all of them are great, but the fact that they're something different than we usually get, like Horns or Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
He's doing movies that you normally wouldn't get big names to do, like fun stuff.
And this last trailer is called Lovebirds. Every happy couple has one moment that defines their relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is... I have to look at because I can never pronounce his name. That's my fault. It's with Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, and Issa Rae.
And Issa Rae. Here we go.
You are unbelievable.
Looks like love is finally found me.
I love you.
Police officer! He's a criminal! Move, move, move!
Justice! Oh my God! I want
I don't think he's a cop.
He's fucking dead!
We know he's dead, but we didn't kill him. He like to report a murder or whatever. We didn't murder anybody!
1, 2, 3, go!
No!
Okay, the guy's name is Jabron.
Run, Leilani!
And the girl's name's actually Leilani. She's running too now. Kind of slowly, she's wearing heels that look actually amazing.
We have to go to the police because we have nothing to hide.
Why did you run from the scene of the crime?
Good question, officer.
That's me covering up my body cam so I can beat your ass.
We're so fucked!
We just need to find the guy the police are looking for.
So you suggesting we actually go out there and solve a murder?
It's locked. Did you think it was one of those men-only doors? All we need is a name, and then we're in the clear.
Hey man, it's been a minute. Who the fuck are you?
Who do you work for? You little bitch. You little beanbag ballless bitch.
Yeah. You think about your grandma and that furry beanbag bitch? What? These people are super dangerous and they're really powerful.
This is some Handmaid's Tale bullshit.
We have impostors.
Oh no, imposters. That sucks.
Everyone unmask yourself.
Oh shit. Nobody else took their masks off.
I'm gonna give you lovebirds a choice. What's behind this door or bacon grease to the fight?
I don't want grease on my pies.
Is it gonna shit on me?
Take the grease.
Free up my love.
That's
Interesting.
That's fun.
I'm glad that it's not a straightforward like rom-com. It's got some other things going on with it, and I feel like it's very timely coming right after we had a movie like Queen and Slim, because it feels very similar, but with a
Thanks for the follow.
but with a more lighthearted tone, because Queen and Slim got real. It took it real serious,
Yeah.
but it's got the same kind of premise. It also feels like something like Date Night, which was really funny, or even what was that movie that came out a couple years ago that was about them having it was game night.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I think this is where he's going to game night. that was surprisingly good.
Game night was
movie.
really good.
I didn't expect much from it, and then it kept turning for me.
But this feels kind of like one of those movies. So it looks like fun. I'm not a huge rom-com person, so it takes a lot to sell me on a rom-com. But I'd definitely watch that, and the cast is great. So
yeah,
cool.
All right, let's. We're gonna head on to our main topic for the night.
Topic of the night:
art versus the artist.
So you're fighting.
I'm fighting all the artists. So tell us again what this entails.
Well,
we're
we're getting a lot of creators and some entertainment industry and elsewhere who are presenting some very problematic things into the world, or we're learning things about them that we didn't know before, and it can sometimes make it hard to reconcile whether you like the art that they create, even if you don't like them as a person or don't like some of the things they do on a personal level. So we're just talking about that whole topic and how to reconcile that kind of thing.
Reconcile. I couldn't think of what I really want to talk about.
Reconcile.
And it just reminding you guys, if we make our 100 subscriber goal today, we will be giving away this limited edition pop vinyl, which is a little Batman in his car it's a Toy Tokyo exclusive pop. Very hard to find. Thank you to Goldie Chan.
You won't even have to look for it and try to find it if you just subscribe.
Yeah, and then we win, and then you just get it. Character Surprise says, shitty people who are responsible for neat things. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. And there are a lot of people, we all have our own connections to certain people because we love entertainment, we love movies, we look up to certain actors and directors as artistic inspiration and entertainers. So everyone has their own connection with people, with creators and artists, and everyone's connection is different. So like the last couple of days I've been asking on social media, like, what celebrities do you struggle with? And I've gotten a ton of answers from different people for different reasons. So there's a lot of different things going on that we can touch on.
Cool.
Like how do you deal with that kind of thing?
It's hard because I don't know how I deal with it because I struggle with it all the time. Like where like you find that it's a little easier when you like find somebody who is problematic and then you like their stuff and you go, okay, I like their stuff, but I'm gonna distance myself a little bit. You can acknowledge that. But if it happens the other way, when you really like somebody, and then something super problematic comes out about them, then it's like, oh, but now because you had an emotional attachment to them, and I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah,
it's easier when it's the other way because you can separate it a little bit and say, I'm only gonna like them this much, or I can try to reconcile that. But I don't know that I found a way to reconcile that yet. I still find struggling.
Yeah,
and it's almost like I almost just kind of go, nah. Not because I'm shunning them away 100% because of whatever the problem is, but because I don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna leave it there.
Well, I mean, there definitely is like, I feel like if there's something that you enjoy, and then it turns out that the creator of that, or something that was meaningful to you even, and it turns out that the creator of that thing ends up having these problems, that doesn't invalidate your feelings before. Like your feelings now that you may not like them anymore or may not like what they stand for anymore are very valid, but also your feelings then about whatever it was they created and how that affected you in your life is also very valid. Like you don't change history. So if you had something, like for me, I love the movie Melancholia, which was directed by Lars von Trier, who turns out is kind of a shitty person for various reasons. And he's always been his movies have always been kind of pretentious and kind of looking down on people in a way. Like he is very aggressively into what it feels like to go through trauma in his movies.
Yeah.
And that usually ends up happening more to women than other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can kind of, like, if you look at his filmography as a whole, then it looks kind of gross.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, his movies show you kind of how to also deal with trauma. So it's kind of a complex thing. Like I get his movies, but also I feel kind of weird watching them. But Melancholia was a movie that came out, and I watched around the same time I was like in the deepest of my depression, and watching that movie kind of helped me through that. And so even if I like am very shady and sketchy about watching his work now, what Melancholia did for me, I can't forget. Like I can't just push it aside. And I think it's important for people to understand that if there was something that was important at another time before now, then it was still important for that time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like the Cosby Show. Like the Cosby Show was a big deal for Black representation, and so that the things that show did and what that show stood for are important and will always have been important for that period of time. But at this point, like Cosby, I can completely let go of. Like I can appreciate what the Cosby Show did without looking at Bill Cosby and going, yeah, we need to keep him around. No, we don't. He can serve his time and deal with his consequences.
Reedy H. Cooper says, thank you, Will. One of my most hated statements is, my childhood is ruined. And it's like, no, your childhood is fine. It's unchanged. And that's true. It doesn't have to, like you said, undo what you had before. It's just now, from here forward, that's what you have to kind of deal with that.
Right.
And so, I lost my train of thought where I was going with this.
Sorry. I'm checking. We actually have like a point of topics to go over here, so I'm actually checking off things as we talk about them. If you see me scrolling.
Ronstadt says, weird take, but I'm able to enjoy works of problematic artists more if I know they've been punished for their indiscretions than if I know they're still acting with impunity. Yeah, I guess that would make it a little easier if you know that they've been punished of something has been done about it, and I think it can, because some things can't be undone. Right. If somebody spent a while being racist, and then they went, you know what, I was wrong to be racist for so long. Let me fix it, and they got what they got, their comeuppance or whatever. Then you can kind of go, okay, we clean that up, or because there is redemption. We should allow for that redemption from people if it's honest but it is different. If it is differently, if somebody has basically gotten away with it.
Yeah.
With whatever the thing is.
And apology. Well, the first thing is that celebrities, directors, actors, whatever, are all people just like us. And people make mistakes. Sometimes people make mistakes and actually give sincere apologies and try to rectify whatever it is that they made a mistake about. Sometimes that is very sincere, and sometimes people do overcome it. Sometimes people make bad decisions. But then there's also times where people are just like awful and they don't apologize or aren't sincere about their apology and don't make an attempt to, become better people or grow. And I think that's where it's like really hard to.
That's when it gets more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, people are human, and there have been instances when I've seen somebody say something, and because I've done it, where you say something, and then you go, that's not really how I believe. I was just in the heat of the moment. I was upset at that moment, and I said something that wasn't communicating properly what I was, and that happens all the time.
Right.
But unfortunately, celebrities are in the limelight, so they say one thing, and then people think, oh my God, he's been racist for 20 years,
right.
or it gets taken out of context, or they just did say the wrong thing. It doesn't.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like bad wording.
Bad wording,
like they just haven't put their words together correctly.
Or it's something that maybe they're still not unsure about in their own life. They're dealing with something that's personal that isn't quite that they can have a exact opinion about something. Sometimes it comes out wrong.
Yeah.
Thanks for the follow.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopeful.
Yeah, so like any other person, like all of us, there is always room to grow, and there's always room to actually like change your opinion if you get new information about us thinking about these people. If we learn new things about them, we can change our opinion about them anytime we want. And also them, if they are put out something into the world and then they, if they put out something into the world that they don't realize is hurtful to other people and someone brings it to their attention, they have the opportunity to grow and take that into account. So yeah, it's all about being able to grow and become better people. And I think also, because you were saying like, celebrities are in the limelight, we're just really getting to a point. For the longest time, anytime there was a celebrity, or we would see celebrities, especially like actors, they'd be scripted. Like for the history of Hollywood, actors and celebrities were kind of scripted because, anytime they would, not only just in the movies, but anytime you would see them out and about in pictures or something, or in pictures or something like that, they would be advertising or promoting something. And it wasn't until really social media where we got to start seeing actors, in their more natural nature. So this is all really new. In the idea of how long Hollywood and movies and film and all that stuff has been around, the idea of seeing celebrities as, just the average Joe is still kind of a new idea. And so a lot of celebrities actually don't know how to handle that or how to present themselves in a way that that isn't unscripted. And they can't handle the backlash of just their everyday life sometimes. So it's a lot to think about. But also, while it sounds like I'm defending celebrities, keep in mind that celebrities are also part of the elite of this country. They're, for the most part, really well off. They get they have a lot of privilege in our society. Like they get freebies. For most of this stuff, they don't have to take care of a lot of the everyday things. So their perception of everyday life also can be kind of skewed. And I think that can make it easier for them to not realize some of the things that they say are not really how it goes down. So I don't want to sound like I'm like defending celebrities, because a lot of them do just do some awful things.
Yeah. Once you kind of fall into that celebrity, and you've been a celebrity for a long time, you kind of fall into that clueless world where people just don't understand.
Because you're being taken care of all the time, so you don't think of of a lot of things.
And Rita Cooper threw some specific examples out there. He said, like, Woody Allen is forever problematic, but I still watch something he puts out. That's somebody who I thought has always done something unique and something interesting with his film making, but obviously there's a huge problematic stuff with him. But it's like, but I want to enjoy some of the stuff he still puts out. And then like, I have a hard time with that, because I don't want to support the terrible things.
Right.
But like, I like supporting the art part of it. But
Right.
But how much of the art do I support? Like you said, art versus the artist. How do we do that?
Well, it's hard because for me, I personally find it hard to support art from artists that are problematic, because I do see everything in art as being inherently political. And I don't mean politics as in like, who's going to win the next election or that kind of politics, but just the politics of how we think about everyday things. Like if an artist is creating something, even the subtle details like whether a shirt in a movie should be blue or green is a decision that they have to make. And those decisions, whether they are intentional or not, add to the overall end product. And so I think a lot of artists, even if they're not trying to be political, and a lot of artists are trying to be political, a lot of artists do specifically put specific ideas that they want their audience to have in their work. But even artists who aren't trying that inherently are doing that. And so the ideas that we get from movies, from artists who have problematic backgrounds, can often be problematic in themselves without them even realizing it, just because of. But at the same time, we do get a lot of important work from people who have been problematic. So it's a really hard thing to do, and it's kind of something that everyone has to choose how they want to handle on their own. I think that people should know that they are not. It's not mandatory that you hold space for people who have done wrong. Like if you want to let go of people who have done wrong, absolutely, and just never see their work again, that's fine. Don't feel guilty about it. There are enough people in the world enough artists and creators in the world doing great work without those problems, that if you were to not watch those people again, you'd still be able to find great entertainment. Like that's not a problem. But if you do want to continue watching some of that work, I think that it's important not to let the work outweigh the artist.
Be aware of
Be
both
aware
sides.
of it. Be aware of it. Don't forget that there is, this background happening with this artwork, and just like always be informed and aware of what you're watching and thinking about.
And be aware of the communication that's happening, because art is communication. Art for me equals communication. So they're going to communicate. If there is a truly problematic, there's the people who say problematic things, and those aren't as bad as the people who are actually very problematic. I think there's a little bit of like maybe a little bit difference, but there are people who are problematic who will still communicate those opinions and those views through their art. And sometimes we have to be aware of that we're not just blindly taken in this art, and we have to just think about it a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, it's I forgot what I was about to say. Move on to the next topic because I forgot what I was going to say in response to that. So like you said, Woody Allen was someone. Is that like your top offender? Like who is it that you really find?
I think Woody Allen was one of mine because when I was younger and I wasn't aware so much of him, I really liked the writing style. I was very entertained because his movies they still do feel so different than anybody else is making. There's a different energy to them. So I was always, his movies for me always kind of were interesting. I don't like them where like I'm attached to them, but I liked the type of work that he did.
I have a lot of friends who are big, film buffs who love Woody Allen. And I have never ever been able to get into Woody Allen. I literally have tried before I learned, about him. He's one of the directors that everyone holds as one of the greatest American directors. Like people put his name up there when you think about what it means to be cinema.
Yeah.
So, I gave him a shot and I was like, I'm going to watch some Woody Allen movies because everyone recommends them. School is telling me, film school is telling me that I need to study his work. So I'm going to give it a shot. And I have not seen a Woody Allen movie that I like. They're all boring and basic to me. So that's one that I never had a problem not watching
What
his
about
work.
Reed H. Cooper also mentioned Mel Gibson.
So Mel Gibson is interesting to me because on a personal level, because I have never really been a huge fan of Mel Gibson either. But I find that there are movies that Mel Gibson have been in that I feel like those movies are greater than he is. So I don't have a problem watching them because when I watch them, I don't see him in them.
Okay.
For example, I love Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
So when I go back and watch the first 3 Mad Max movies, I see them as far as like a Mad Max franchise. And it's funny that, because Mel Gibson has come up a couple times in conversation about this very thing. People have like, well, how do you feel? Because you talk about Mad Max all the time. How do you feel like watching Mel Gibson in those movies? Now I had to step back and go, oh, right, he is in those. Because I don't even think of them as Mel Gibson movies. I think of them as Mad Max movies that, have Mad Max in them. And I'm looking at the line of Mad Max's arc and not even thinking about him as an actor because I feel like the movies are bigger than he is.
Yeah.
And it kind of was the same thing when Jodie Foster directed The Beaver not too long ago, which is a movie. Did you ever watch that? It's a movie about a guy who is having problems with communicating. And so his therapist gives him a beaver puppet that he has to speak through.
Oh, I didn't see it, but I know.
And Mel Gibson plays that guy. And so I went into it because of the puppeteering. I wanted to see because it's a movie about puppets, and also because I like Jodie Foster. And it wasn't until I was like halfway into it and I was like, oh yeah, this is a Mel Gibson. So I'm aware of Mel Gibson and his problems, and I don't like him because of his problems, but I also just don't give him enough energy or credit that I just don't even. He doesn't even come up on my radar because I don't think about him enough.
Real quick. Hosted Radio, thank you so much for the host. Nightwolf.
Oh, thanks.
Nightwolf FN just followed us. And Nightwolf FN says, first time viewer, this is so good. Watch for 15 minutes. And following y'all are dope. Hey,
Oh,
thank you.
nice. Welcome.
This is
Welcome
live.
to the family.
Hello, Nightwolf. Yeah, welcome. Yeah, so Mel Gibson is one of those where like I do think he's a really good filmmaker. I do think he's done a lot of great work, but I'm okay letting go of him. For me, he's not somebody I like. I appreciate the work he's done. I do think he's a very talented, he's one of those people who I do think he is very good filmmaker. But I'm not attached to anything per se that I'm gonna miss him because I'm gonna push him away. I don't really care.
Yeah,
I'm fading.
And it's the same. It's kind of the same way with Clint Eastwood too, because he's a pretty darn good director.
Also, yeah.
But but I can easily just leave him and not see any of his work anymore, and it would be fine. Because there's a lot of better work out there, and his work is also some of that I feel like, whether it's intentional or not, is probably intentional in his case.
Yeah.
His work is very much imbued with his ideas, and so that kind of makes it a lot easier to just be like,
just out.
Even though this is a well-made movie, I'm just this I can do without. It's funny that I just spent all this time talking about Mel Gibson as an actor, and then I was like, oh yeah, he directs too, and his direction is actually pretty good. But I don't, as well made as the movies Passion of the Christ and Apocalypto are. Apocalypto is beautiful. It's
so
such
cool.
a beautiful movie. But I'm fine letting go of Mel Gibson.
Yeah, clean up your act, Mel Gibson.
There are, I think what you were saying earlier is kind of like how there are levels to the problematic things that people do. And there definitely are, which is why I feel like, I harp on Scarlett Johansson all the time. But I feel like she's the perfect kind of poster child for this kind of thing, because the things that she talks about, the things that she is just so oblivious about, but it feels like she still needs to continuously talk about, are things that are small in comparison. But I also want to point out that comparing problematic things only results in the victims of those things feeling like their problems are less than others. So I also am very cautious about comparing and adding levels to it.
Yeah.
But obviously, Scarlett Johansson saying something isn't like Harvey Weinstein.
Yes, it's maybe how much damage they do.
Yeah.
Whether it's immediate harmful or maybe in the long run.
Yeah.
Or but you don't want to lessen people's thing.
But that's why it's easy. I was trying to figure out who the popcorn bucket was going to be for today, and I was like, Scarlett Johansson, people can look out without being triggered. So I'm not going to draw a Harvey Weinstein popcorn bucket like that. You get that? That makes sense, right? So
cool. I'm gonna, just for some of the new people who've just joined us today, we are Perception Studio. We have a few shows on our channel. We have this show, Cinephilia, where we do movie talk every Monday night. On Tuesdays, we have Solon's Legacy. I forgot the name of the show. Solon's Legacy, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, which is our human D&D show. And on Wednesday nights, we have Perception Check at 7:30 p.m. as well, where we play D&D with our felted friends. And just in case you don't know what we do, I'm going to show you real quick what we do.
And we are Perception Studio.
Wild turkey that hungers for blood.
Hey, how does D&D? Hi, I'm Haley.
And I'm Andrew.
Fuck you. Yes, I'm kind of shit.
The room begins to fill with a bunch of cola. Our heroes begin to drown.
What my favorite movie of each year was?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally fine if I get crushed by a giant dragon schlong. If that's how I'm gonna go, then that's a way to go. I believe you.
I say, tickle this, bitch. And I take.
We'll Cinephilia you later.
That was almost good.
The donation of $200 in Overbirds. Look under your seats because everybody gets a reroll. You get a reroll. You get a reroll. You get a reroll.
I hate it so much. And people are like, no.
You know, sexual stuff. But we're just a little more grounded. So your profession is in the sky.
Get in here. Get in the
I gotta stop squeezing out of. Scoot your fucking chair over.
Is that better?
No, go away. Oh, jeez.
Hey, that's us. That's our family. That's Perception Studio. We are a bunch of friends who do a bunch of cool stuff together, and we just moved into our studio in October.
Yeah, look at this awesome backdrop.
Studio, and if you guys see a bunch of other stuff, we have a studio running here. We have a few sets and a few shows. So tell your friends, come join us, subscribe, follow, do whatever.
Welcome.
Nightwolf says, I love this right now. The stream I never knew I needed. I know. Tell everybody. We're trying. Cool. So moving on.
So I was talking about Scarlett Johansson. That brings up a point that sometimes, like we talked about how our feelings change when we learn that someone is kind of problematic. Sometimes, in some cases, like I understand sometimes we just want to throw people away, which is absolutely fine. If that's what you need to do, then do it. Sometimes learning things about people actually makes the work that they do make more sense. Like for me, Scarlett Johansson's movie Under the Skin, which is probably my favorite movie of hers. It's an A24 movie. Actually, it's all about the privilege that kind of comes with also the consequences that come with looking a certain way and playing a part that isn't particularly what you actually are. And so for her to then make all these statements about like how she should be able to play, people of other races or trans people or trees or whatever. Just that idea of hers actually makes that movie. It literally is called Under the Skin. Yeah. It gives it a whole nother meaning, a whole nother layer. So it's almost like when you learn problematic things about people, you can let that kind of thing inform your takes on their work. If you're not going to throw their work away, then at least keep that stuff in mind and let it. For all of you that are just joining the show, we practice something on this show called conscious escapism, where because we're watching so many movies, but so many real life things are going on that we don't want to necessarily escape from. We like to look at movies in a way that they can help us in the real world or inspire us. And so that's kind of a take on that, where if you're finding out real life things about people, you can let that inform their work, and you can think about those kind of things when you're watching their work. And I think that's a good way to be critical of people and to continue being critical.
I think Scarlett Johansson is a really good example of kind of what I feel the majority of celebrityism, their faults fall into, where they're not trying to be racist, they're not trying to be dicks, they have an opinion that isn't, I would, like her opinion about an actor should be able to play anything they want. Yes. Except these other things. So if everything was perfect, if everybody was represented equally, if we saw every kind of person in movies and every type of person was also able to play all the kinds of people, then yes, every actor should be able to play any character they want. But unfortunately, there's these other roadblocks that are not allowing that thing to just freely live.
Right.
So, and I think maybe it's like that read the room kind of situation where like
read the world.
I know you have a point, and I'm not entirely disagreeing with it, but look around you. Like, be aware of what is happening currently, what is how it is, and maybe make adjustments. Because she could have said very similar thing with some adjustments and try to like. She didn't really need to say anything. She could have just ignored it. But if she'd wanted to, she could have made her point, but made it a little bit better.
But the similar thing to what you're saying is also what was happening recently between Martin Scorsese and Disney, which is where, Martin Scorsese was calling out Disney for having a monopoly. They made 80% of the box office in the last year in 2019. Disney made 80% of the box office. That's a lot. That is a monopoly. And a lot of other movies get shut out because they're not as big as Disney. They don't get longer in the theater. People don't see them. So what Martin Scorsese was trying to say is legit.
Yeah.
But he phrased it as Marvel movies aren't cinema, which is kind of a weird thing because in that way he's trying to redefine what makes cinema in his eyes, and that automatically leaves out a lot of things. So if you look at of Disney movies not being cinema, or Marvel movies specifically not being cinema, then that means something like Black Panther, which was important for a lot of Black people, for being able to see non-colonized Africa, being able to see Black superheroes, Black women who are badass, just like rule the whole big screen. Him saying Marvel is not cinema automatically diminishes all of that.
Yeah, and he could have gone through the whole thing of speaking about they have a monopoly, they do all this, but instead his comments ended up trickling down towards the audience as well. Like, you're not making cinema, and it sort of trickled down to making me feel that, like, oh, you're not smart enough because you're falling for their things. It trickled down in a negative towards the audience as well, as opposed to the company, because Marvel didn't care. It doesn't harm Marvel what Martin Scorsese thinks.
Right.
So,
but that's the thing, is that no matter which side, and we've had this discussion on this show before, so no matter which side you take on the Scorsese or Hollywood elite versus Disney or Marvel, they're all Hollywood elites. Like, none of them are actually like hurting with money. Martin Scorsese isn't hurting for anything.
No.
Terry Gilliam, who doubled down on that idea that Black Panther was not inspiring for Black kids, whatever. If you're going to talk about what's inspiring for Black kids, then you should be putting some Black people leads in your movies. Then you're more legit on talking
Make
about
something else than
that kind
movies.
of thing. So
Nightwolf says Disney movies be good though. They are. Not taking it away. I go see them. And trust me, we have a thing about Disney. And
Disney is definitely one of those. I mean, it's not even a actor, director, celebrity person. It's a corporation. So I definitely have a love-hate relationship with Disney. For all of you who are just joining, Disney was a major part of my identity up until just a few years ago. And I had a major falling out with Disney.
We did as a group.
As a group. We used to work for Disney, and some still do.
I don't know.
but there was a major falling out. So we have issues with Disney not only on a big mainstream basis because of how they're ruling and monopolizing the theater, but we have it on a personal basis as well. But we still can see that there's some things to appreciate in Disney movies, and we can't write it off altogether. Like, Disney is not.
Yeah, I feel now that
Disney is not Mel Gibson.
Now that we're coming up on 3 years from our event, I feel like I'm much less emotional. I hate Disney, and now it's like,
I'm still. I literally typed "fuck Disney" in a comment thread earlier today, so I'm still at that point.
But I mean, I'm still there. But now it's a little bit more like, well, but now I can see some of things that I'm okay with. I can appreciate some things that I was like zero. I'm out completely. Now I'm like, okay, because now I'm understanding there are. Outside, underneath the corporate umbrella, there's still a lot of artists and a lot of people who are putting a lot of good work and a lot of effort to make good things that are both good and also do representation, and they're trying to tell good stories. So there is those goodness under that evil corporate umbrella.
So another way to look at this whole art versus the artist thing is literally that if you can compartmentalize, then that could be a very helpful thing. If you are able to see that there is both good and bad in a lot of things, and you can look and say specifically, this thing is bad, and I can talk about this and not support that, and pull the curtain back on this kind of thing because this needs to be discussed so we can move forward, like all the bad things, but also see that there are some, good things that come out of some of this stuff. Like, if it wasn't for mainstream movies giving the diversity that we're seeing now, then smaller movies, smaller movies already have the diversity in it, but they don't have the reach as big mainstream movies. So the diversity in smaller movies don't quite help in changing the demographics of the industry. It's the mainstream movies that do that. So for mainstream movies to give us diversity, and that right now is Disney, that's what Disney is doing, then I have to admit that that's a good thing for the industry, even though there's all this bad stuff about Disney that I can talk
and
about.
even though that some of that diversity might be motivated by money, because very likely is that is them. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. I don't.
Oh, it is. You know
Yeah,
it is. But that's the thing. Also, is that money in our system speaks. Money talks.
Yeah.
And so the same way, or the reason that Disney is able to or wants to jump on board with this diversity is because we as an audience can use our money to speak. Like if you don't feel like being vocal about something, like I am, like I'm on social media every day saying fuck this shit, fuck that shit. If you're not that type of person, that's completely understandable. But you can use your money to speak for you, because that's the way that this system works. So if you spend your money and help the box office of movies that we want to be seen and be noticed to change the industry, then that's one way to do it. And also take your money away from the movies that you think are bullshit that shouldn't be supported.
Yeah, speak with your money.
I think that it's important. I mean, speaking with your money is one thing, but I do think that it's important to stay critical, even if you're not vocal like I am about things, to stay critical.
Really like all the time.
But you want to stay critical about things. So this is like what we were talking about earlier, how even if there's something you want to watch or support, know that at the heart of it might be an artist who's problematic. So you always want to have that inform your decisions, and you always want to be informed about what's happening and just stay critical.
Don't be passive about it.
Right.
Mitchie says, this is a little off topic, but there is something to be said for diversity for the sake of brownie points. I'm pointing the big finger at Fox right now and their spinoff of 911. Yeah, that can also be problematic as well, where we create diversity, but it's very artificial.
Yeah.
And it's for the sake of brownie points. It's for the sake of, look at me, we're doing diversity. It can be bad. It's like half it can be helped because you're doing it, but it doesn't do us any favors if it becomes very artificial.
Yeah.
Because then it's not taken seriously, and it is looked upon negatively.
That's kind of how I feel about Star Wars right now. Because Force Awakens gave us 3 leads that were diverse. I mean, that was a big thing. But if you look over the arc of the entire new trilogy, only one of those leads got like a full arc, a full pass. And we got 2 of those characters kind of just fell by the wayside, which is unfortunate. But at least we got them. Like at least especially in Force Awakens, they were all very strong. And that movie, exists now and is also a template for other movies that want to have the same kind of success. They're going to see that those characters in the lead can still be successful. Same with Black Panther. Same with a movie like Hidden Figures, which was about 3 black women scientists, and just how incredible they were. And it actually had a bigger box office than Star Wars when it was out, which was kind of incredible.
Yeah.
So there is definite change happening in the industry that I love. And although some of it might start out from being brownie points, like it kind of trickles into something bigger.
Yeah,
or it can. It doesn't always, but it can.
Yeah, it's how artificial it is, right? If it's somewhat artificial, but there's still a little bit of, then I think we can give it a slight pass at it. But if it's strictly like artificial, it's not going to help anybody.
Yeah, like we've pushed really great into like what Art loves: Space Latinos, black leads, women leads in big mainstream movies, not just like rom-coms, but women actually being badass and leads in movies. But we're still getting the brownie points right now on queer characters. We're still getting the little kiss in the background scene, or like someone admitting they're gay in a therapy session that is a background character. They aren't an important character. So I definitely get the whole brownie point thing, and I think that, you know, people need to push more in their filmmaking.
Yeah, they do. And I think corporations also need to be more brave. I feel like some corporations might have the push and belief in the back, but they're afraid of the repercussions from the part of America that will turn against it.
But this is why not only is speaking with your money important, like I said, because corporations don't have feelings. Corporations are going off of numbers and statistics. So if we show corporations that movies with these characters are what we want to see, then that's what they're going to do. They're just going by numbers. But also when we want to hold people accountable, and it's always important to hold corporations and people accountable, I think that social media is a great thing for that, because voices are being heard on a much larger scale, or I should say the average voice is being heard on a much larger scale than ever before, where before we would just always get movies starring straight white men because it was just straight white men making movies. Now that we have social media, we can call that out. We can suggest other people who are great, and you know, if it may feel like it's just you saying these things on social media, but the great thing about social media is that you can now see that there are a lot of other people saying the same thing, and then there becomes like this whole wave of change that happens because so many people are gravitating towards something that you might have thought that it was just you thinking about. So I love social media for that reason. There are lots of bad things happening in social media too, but we do have the chance to like push those ideas into numbers so that studios and corporations can see that there is a large number of people wanting this or willing to pay for this.
They'll pay attention.
That's what makes them pay attention.
Yeah. So there's one of your points here that you made on our notes. You can. Nope, I lost it. Oh, you're allowed and encouraged to change your mind. That I really liked.
Oh yeah, like if you learn things, not only are you allowed. I said that earlier that you're allowed or you should, change your mind on whenever you receive new information. But I actually definitely encourage that. Like if you don't have to be stuck with this idea just because it's what you're used to or what you have been with for a long time.
I do feel that people sometimes they'll call it, they think that it's wrong, that you should have an opinion, and then if you flip on it later, that all of a sudden there's something wrong with you. No, it's you gain new information and you're able to make it's what happens in science.
Yeah,
we believe we take all the money facts and things that we can. We form an opinion, and then should we get new information, then we change our opinion or whatever it is. So I think it's really important that as these like problematic things keep happening, is that we, like you said, not be passive about them and continue to learn so that we can keep changing our points of views. And it's okay and it's healthy actually to change your point of views, because getting stuck on the same point of view, it just means that you're not growing. And so many people get stuck on those point of views and aren't willing to see the new information that we are receiving and change those points of views.
Yeah, it's totally like when we learn something is problematic about someone, I'm always, on a personal level, I always, if there's like a victim calling out someone for like a sexual assault or something like that, I always side with the victim first. Because it takes a lot of courage for victims to come out, especially against a celebrity or someone major with power like Harvey Weinstein. Like, it's not easy for that to happen. For a victim to come out with their story about that kind of thing, or against someone like like Kevin Spacey, they're automatically putting themselves like on the battlefield because there are so many rabid fans of those people, and those people are so important to the industry that the gut reaction is to blame the victim with all these excuses like why didn't they come out sooner or why this or that. So it's very, very brave for victims to come out, and I feel like I always go with the victim first. Very rarely does it turn out that the victim is lying. It does happen, but that's one of the things where if I get new information and it doesn't end up being that they were telling the truth, then of course I'm going to change my mind about it. And that's the thing is if you get new information, you should be navigating what you're thinking based on that. You should always be critical of things. You should always be informed of things, and learn for yourself. Don't just take anyone's word for it. Definitely let things play out and let yourself be able to gather as much information about a situation as possible.
British Cooper says, are we still allowed to enjoy old Kevin Spacey films, or is that too much? Which is one of the questions that I think Danny also had.
Well, yes. I mean, I think it's on a personal basis. You're allowed... It's your life, so you're really allowed to do whatever you want, however you choose to reconcile that. But like we were saying before, no going into movies that or older work that if you learn something new, then that can then inform even those older works. Even though it's already been made, it's already done, it has a spot in history, and I'm very vocal about not erasing history. So something that's happened in history is already done, like blackface movies, awful. But it's a part of history, and I feel like history is something that we can look at in order to learn and grow and become better than. We can progress from our history. If we don't recognize things in our history, if we just dismiss them as never having happened, or if we just, put them aside or ignore them, then we aren't going to learn from it. So I'm all about still, taking in work from people that we learn are problematic that's already been made, because it informs everything that has happened before, informs where we're going to go next. I don't think that things should be pushed under the rug.
Aside, yeah. Which is a little bit of something with this conversation we had a little bit a while ago about Disney Plus, not having Song of the South and those kinds of movies, which are problematic but are part of history. But then they took other things which they found also problematic and then put a disclaimer at the beginning, which we thought was cool. Right. They said, hey, just so you know, this is slightly problematic, but we made these a really long time ago and we're aware, but we don't want to get rid of them.
So I wish that Disney would put Song of the South on Disney Plus with that disclaimer. I think that it's so easy, and I recently had a big conversation on Twitter with someone over the same thing that I was saying about Martin Scorsese using the definition of cinema of just this is not cinema. Let's just dismiss it altogether. I recently had a conversation on Twitter with someone who was doing the same thing, and I was my point in the conversation was trying to explain that dismissing something is not necessarily being critical of it. You don't learn from just dismissing something. Instead of saying this is not cinema or this is not a movie, the critique should be this is a bad movie or this is bad cinema because, and then that's when we get more critical and we can actually talk about the things that are wrong, learn from them, and start doing things that are right. I think that if you just dismiss something and throw it away as having not even existed, Marvel isn't cinema, so Marvel just doesn't exist in the form of cinema. That's ridiculous. Yeah. But if you say Marvel is bad cinema because Disney is using it to create a monopoly, then we get that kind of criticism, and we can figure out how to fix that and move on.
Yeah, it's like if Martin Scorsese really wanted to change what cinema is and what is happening, he could have done that, right? He could have given you, I don't like Marvel movies because, and then started a conversation, which maybe could have prompted Disney to go, okay, now people are talking about this. How do we fix this? How do we make this better so people are happier?
Yeah.
But he didn't. He just was like, meh, tossed it out to the
I
side.
mean, and he also has the privilege of, if he wanted to change what was happening in cinema, he could just fucking do it himself instead of calling someone else out on it. But that's another thing.
Ruster Robotica says, it's hard to keep track of all of it, though, right? What if the person changes and becomes a better person or pays for their crime? Assuming it's a lesser transgression.
Yeah, if someone changes and becomes a better person, then I'm all for that. That's what we want people to do. And I think that if people are genuinely doing that, then it's just like, it's the way we run prison right now, where prison is supposed to be a place for rehabilitation. But when ex-cons come out, they're treated, supposedly when convicts are let out of prison after serving their time, they're let out because they've been rehabilitated and they're supposed to be able to come back into our world and exist and be able to be a person and have a life. But that's not always the case, because ex-cons have this stigma that they've been in jail, so they're a bad person, and they aren't allowed to fully rehabilitate in our society. And I think that's kind of the same thing that happens often with other things outside of prison. So if someone is genuine in trying to change their ways and be a better person and being apologetic of the things that they have done, they have to acknowledge it. They have to go through the steps, whatever those steps are for the situation. But if they are doing that work, then they should be allowed to, continue as a person and not just be, slammed at every turn.
And that happened with Guardians of the Galaxy director.
James Gunn.
With James Gunn.
That's a really good example.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time being kind of a dick. I don't necessarily think that he was like on the super horrible part of the spectrum, but he was definitely problematic. He had a lot of things he said because he kind of like Terry Gilliam, where he thought it was funny and he was going to be a dick about it. And then over time, he realized that was not a good point of his life and the things he was saying, and fully acknowledged it. Years before he got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Years. Like he
everybody had moved on. Everybody. We're like, oh yeah, we're good. But and then he got fired.
Then he got fired.
And then he got rehired. And got to do other movies. So it worked out for him. He did some DC stuff, and Marvel hired him back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
What's next?
I don't know. We've said a lot today.
Well, here's another thing. There's a whole thing about some people, since we were talking about people rehabilitating or coming back into their own after aggressions. There are some people in this society who have a far easier chance of being able to come out of their problems.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that this kind of situation came up a couple years ago when Birth of a Nation, directed by Nate Parker, was a big thing at the box office, but also was Manchester by the Sea, starring Casey Affleck, was also a big movie at the box office. Both movies were kind of seen as possibly being Oscar contenders, award movies. But both Nate Parker and Casey Affleck had sexual allegations in their history that came up that year. And it's interesting, Nate Parker being a black actor and director, and Casey Affleck being a white actor and also a part of the Affleck family and part of that whole group of celebrities that people love, with Ben and Matt Damon and their whole
the Boston Kids.
Nate Parker was completely shut down for his allegations, and I can't even think off the top of my head if he's done another movie since.
I haven't heard.
I don't think he has.
No.
But that same year that was happening to him, Casey Affleck, with his sexual allegations, was then awarded Best Actor at the Oscars and given all these awards and put up on a pedestal, and people were just kind of ignoring his allegations. So, this is why it's important to stay aware of what's happening with people and how the industry is seeing people because bullshit happens. and it's not to say that Nate Parker should have been given the same opportunities as Casey Affleck. That's another thing that people seem to say is like, well, all of these white guys are getting a pass, so why can't like Bill Cosby or R. Kelly get a pass? And like, no. Well, the pass is not what we want to give.
No.
We want everyone to stop doing bad things. We want everyone
everybody
to be
needs to be held responsible
accountable,
equally.
not give people passes.
No passes.
So
no, it's not what we're looking for.
No, we're not here to give people passes. I think wrongdoers, whatever the wrongdoing they do should be held accountable for their work.
And that kind of on the other side of the cone, whenever having conversations about white privilege and stuff, it's never been the whole thing to bring white people down.
No.
It's been about lifting other people up.
Yes.
So, and I know as we have new viewers that's kind of where we stand, that we're looking to lift people up so that we're all happy and healthy and good and you know,
exactly
living the same life. Check marks.
Check marks. Another thing about being very critical, the more you start looking at things critically or practicing that conscious escapism or always having those things in mind, it will start to naturally come to you that you will pick up on a lot of red flags before you even need them.
I know, and it kind of sucks too, because it's like the ignorance is a bliss. So you're like, my life, and then you're aware of things. You're like, the earth sucks. God, I was so happy when I didn't know things.
But it's important. Like ignorance is bliss. At the time that you're confronted with all these things, but the more people are critical about things and the more critical people are about things, the more we as individuals and as a society grow, and then we'll start getting more conscious, work. We won't have to deal with movies that just put certain people at a horrible level.
And maybe one day we can live in that bliss without the ignorance.
Maybe one day we can have that Star Trek socialist,
replicators everywhere.
Replicators everywhere. Did you watch it? We did not. We should have watched the new Picard trailer.
Oh, we should have.
The new Picard. Have you seen it?
Mm-mm.
It's got replicators just out, like public replicators that people just walk through.
Oh, yeah, those gates. I did see that. And they go to WonderCon.
We love Star Trek here, by the way.
Yeah, Star Trek here. It's Star Trek's January 23rd. We're only
a couple of days away. Picard starts
3 days away.
Yeah, Picard starts in a couple of days.
Oh, you guys.
Oh, also, I should have mentioned this during the news segment, but if you are a fan of Nick Cage or H.P. Lovecraft is also very problematic, but someone who, has shaped a lot of stories in American history. But if you're a fan of their work or the movie Mandy, that director, their new movie Color Out of Space is a Nick Cage movie. Nick Cage starring in an H.P. Lovecraft movie is screening one night only, January 22nd, which is this Wednesday, across the country. So go, if you want to see that in a theater, that's the only night you're going to get to see that. So,
and if you're not doing that, then come watch us at 7:30 p.m. Come watch Perception Check.
Yes.
Instead.
Yes. Actually, you should watch Perception Check.
Don't go do that. Just do this instead.
But I hadn't even thought of it. But H.P. Lovecraft is a great person to talk about in this conversation too. I mean, it's not just actors and directors. I mean, these problematic people happen all throughout history. Surprise!
Michael Jackson. That one troubles me all the time.
But H.P. Lovecraft is someone that a lot of people love his work, but without realizing how a lot of his personal beliefs dictate some of that work. Because a lot of people don't get into like the personal, the personalities of a lot of the creators they love. They just love the work.
Yeah.
So this is why I think it's important to be informed and know the history behind things. So H.P. Lovecraft has a lot of problems, but a lot of his work is still great and informs American horror. And you can enjoy his work on its own, but if we know the history and if we are critical of the history, then we can get even better work. For example, Jordan Peele has a new series coming out called Lovecraft Country, which is all about the Black experience in America, but with a slant towards H.P. Lovecraft horror. So if we, just want to be basic and just take stories as they are, then that's one thing. But if we're critical and conscious about things, then we can just unlock a whole new level of things. That's what I really want people to be doing, is to be more critical so that we can get deeper into a lot of things, and then we can have even better entertainment from it.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think we've kind of
covered most of it. No.
Covered most of it, and we did it in time.
Woo! This is a very densely packed episode.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you everybody for joining us. At this time, we have recommendations. We always forget to think of things to recommend, so at this point we both panic. But I did actually have something.
You go.
I go.
Well,
During our recommendations, we recommend anything. It could be comic books, video games. We just want to throw something at you that we've been experiencing recently that's been kind of fun. For me, in the last 3 weeks, a month maybe, I just discovered Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek is awesome.
It's so good.
It's really fun. I'm surprised you just discovered it, because a lot of us talk about it all the time.
I've heard about it. I never paid attention. Then
it's funny.
Then Amber had been watching it, and I caught some of it. So I went back to the beginning and started watching. I've been binge watching it, and it's fantastic. It's on Netflix right now, and I think it's about to start its last season, whatever cable network it's on. But I think 5 seasons are on Netflix. So if you haven't checked Schitt's Creek, it is so funny.
And coming off of an episode talking about celebrities and elites, and Schitt's Creek is a nice show to go into, because it's all about elite people being brought down to earth. And it's really funny in the way that it handles that, and it handles the idea of rich people having to deal with, everyday life, like some of these celebrities don't get to do. So that's a good recommendation.
Weedish Cooper says, I recommend Bad Boys for Life if you don't pay $20 for movies.
Yeah, if you have AMC A-list.
I've heard Bad Boys for Life was kind of fun. It was it's been doing okay.
I've heard a lot of people enjoy it. I personally, and this is another thing that goes with conscious escapism, I personally have a problem seeing black cops in film, just because this could be a whole nother episode. But just generally the way that cops are in this country, and then to present them as black, I think removes a lot of
some of the issues
we're dealing with. That's an easy way to put it.
Danny recommends Gravity Falls.
Yes, Gravity Falls is great.
On Disney Plus, you can watch it. I've only watched the first season, and I intend to finish it. I just started rewatching DuckTales, the new DuckTales. I'm going to get through that first, and then I'm going to watch Gravity Falls. So what's your recommendation, sir?
My recommendation would be, just last night, my partner Dave and I watched The Florida Project again, which is an A24 movie starring Willem Dafoe and a lot of unknown people set in a Florida project. And this also goes along with the conversation we were having about Disney earlier, because the movie takes place just outside of Disney World and the projects that just surround it. And it kind of goes through the hardships that are happening just outside of where all the magic is happening, and the people who don't get to participate in that kind of magic because they just don't have enough money.
Yeah.
Can't afford to go to Disney World, can't afford to
Disneyland as well. Disneyland is surrounded by poverty.
Yeah. So I recommend The Florida Project. If you have not seen it yet, it's streaming. It's streaming on Canopy for sure, but I think it might also be on Netflix. If you are just joining tonight for the first time, let me also recommend to you Canopy and Hoopla, which are 2 streaming services you can get for free if you have a library card. So go to your library, get a card, and then go to those websites, Canopy and Hoopla, and sign up, and you can watch some free movies.
And one last time, for those of you who just joined us, we have a bunch of other channels on the show, and let me show you a little bit of what we do.
we are Perception Studio.
Wild turkey that hungers for blood.
Hey, how goes Dandy? Hi, I'm Haley.
And I'm Andrew.
Fuck you. Yes, I'm kind as shit.
The room begins to fill with a bunch of cola. Our heroes begin to drown.
What my favorite movie of each year was?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm totally fine if I get crushed by a giant dragon schlong. If that's how I'm gonna go, then like that's a way to go. I believe you.
I say, tickle this, bitch. And I take.
We'll Cinephilia later.
That was almost good.
The donation of $200 in overbus. Look under your seats because everybody gets a reroll. So you get a reroll. You get a reroll. You get a reroll.
I hate it so much. And people are like, no.
You know, sexual stuff. But we're just a little more grounded. So your progression is in the sky.
Get in here.
Get in the brain.
I gotta stop squeezing out of. Scoot your fucking chair over.
Is that better?
No, go away.
Jeez.
You guys enjoyed the volume on that one? We're working on it.
So we've run that reel 3 times tonight, and every time it's come up, I just keep thinking we still got to get Chuck and Cucumber and Willow.
Yeah,
and they have to come on Cinephilia because I want to know what their favorite movies are.
Not today though.
Not today.
Right here. At any time. You let me know.
Really? You're right there? You want to come on screen, Cucumber?
Stay over there.
No, we're going to have an actual episode where these guys come on.
Yeah.
Our Felt It friends will give some movie reviews. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you guys want our schedule is down below in the descriptions of Twitch stuff. It's there. Perception Check is our Felt Defense show. Solon's Legacy is our Human D&D show, and Cinephilia is this show. And February 17th, I think, we're quarter 1 is coming back in a little bit different form than you remember.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Cool.
I can't wait to see that.
Ryan, are we ready to raid? We are going to raid some friends of ours. Same people?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. We're going to raid our friends at Critically Awkward because they're our Toon friends who are fantastic.
Sweet.
And lovely people. And so you guys hang on. Go check them out. They're fantastic. They're really funny too as well. But yeah, so everybody join over there. Hang on for a little bit. Chat for a little bit. We'd really appreciate it if we can send some of these people over. And don't forget to follow us. And we're also on YouTube, by the way. If you want to catch some of our old episodes, we have hundreds of hours worth of content on YouTube. So
not just Cinephilia. There are a bunch of Cinephilia episodes, but all the other shows as well.
Check and stuff. Yeah, they're all there. So go check them out, and we will thank you so much for coming, and we will Cinephilia later.